Have you ever felt embarrassed because you couldn't hold your pee in time? If you're over 70 and dealing with leaks or sudden urges that seem to come out of nowhere, you're not alone, just start, and you're not helpless. Many older women assume it's just part of aging, something to hide or quietly live with. But what most people don't realize is that the bladder is influenced by daily habits. Small things you do without thinking that either help or quietly make the situation worse. This video is not about embarrassment. It's about awareness. We're going to walk through 8 specific habits that many women over 70 are doing every day that are making bladder leaks more frequent and more frustrating. These habits are subtle, often overlooked, and sometimes passed down as normal ways of managing your day. But the truth is, doctors warn that these behaviors may be standing in the way of real relief. If you've ever felt discouraged or even ashamed about wetting your pants, you deserve better. There are changes you can make that will help you feel more in control and less anxious when you leave the house or laugh with friends. Stay with us until the end, because the last few habits might be the ones you've been doing the longest. And once you recognize them, everything can start to change for the better. Let's walk through this together. Number 1, ignoring the urge to go. One of the most common habits that quietly makes bladder leaks worse is holding your urine too long. It might seem harmless, even helpful. You're trying to be efficient, avoid too many bathroom trips, or wait for a more convenient time. But every time you resist the urge to go, you're sending a message to your bladder that it needs to stretch beyond its natural limit. Over time, that repeated stretching can weaken the bladder muscles and confuse the normal signals your body sends. What starts as a delay becomes a habit, and that habit turns into a new baseline for your bladder, one where urgency hits faster and more unpredictably because the muscle has lost some of its tone. You may notice that when the urge does come, it comes on strong. There's less time to respond, and your chances of making it to the bathroom without leaking become smaller. This is especially challenging for older adults because the body's reflexes aren't what they used to be. What used to be a 5-minute warning might now feel like 30 seconds. And if your muscles have been trained to hold for hours, only to be emptied in one big rush, they're less likely to respond when you truly need them to. It's not just about muscles either. The bladder is part of a larger feedback loop with your brain. When you keep ignoring the urge, your brain gets used to tuning out the signal. And when you want it to listen, it might not respond fast enough. That's when surprise leaks happen, often at the worst moments. For women over 70, especially those managing mobility issues or who dislike public restrooms, this habit is often built around good intentions. You may think, I'll just go when I get home, or I don't want to be a bother. But holding too long can end up being more of a bother in the long run. Not just because of accidents, but because it trains the bladder to behave unpredictably. Instead, try using the bathroom every 2 to 3 hours, even if you don't feel a strong urge. This helps retrain your bladder to stay in rhythm, and it keeps those muscles active without overstraining them. It's a small change, but over time, it can reduce both urgency and leakage. So the next time you feel the need to go, honor it. Listen to your body. It's not an inconvenience, it's a signal. And when you treat it with care, it tends to respond with the same. Number 2, drinking too much fluid before bed. A glass of water before bed might seem harmless, maybe even comforting. For some, it's part of a nighttime ritual. You sip, settle in, and drift off. But for women over 70, the timing of your fluid intake can have a much bigger impact on your sleep and your bladder than you may realize. As we age, our bodies process fluids differently. The kidneys often become more active at night, which means more urine production while you sleep. If you add a full cup or 2 of liquid in the hour or 2 before bedtime, you're practically guaranteeing that your bladder will be full in the middle of the night. And if you've already been experiencing leaks or urgency, that full bladder can wake you abruptly, or worse, empty before you make it to the bathroom. Many older adults also deal with reduced mobility or slower reaction time when getting out of bed. Combine that with a dark room, cold floors, or a stiff body, and you have the perfect storm for a nighttime accident. Not because you don't care, but because your body simply can't move as fast as it used to when the pressure builds. There's also the matter of sleep quality. Even if you manage to get up in time, repeated nighttime bathroom trips can interrupt your sleep cycle and leave you feeling groggy and frustrated the next day. Poor sleep makes everything harder, from memory to balance to mood. And it can even make bladder control worse. Since fatigue affects muscle response and timing, the solution isn't to avoid drinking fluids altogether, but to shift your intake earlier in the day. Make it a habit to hydrate well in the morning and afternoon, then taper off after dinner. If you feel thirsty at night, take a few small sips instead of a full glass. And if you take medications with water at bedtime, talk to your doctor or pharmacist about whether they can be moved to an earlier time. Even that one adjustment, reducing how much you drink in the evening, can dramatically lower the number of nighttime accidents and give your body a chance to rest, repair, and regain some control. Because bladder leaks don't just affect your confidence, they affect your quality of life. And sometimes avoiding them starts with something as simple as knowing when to stop sipping. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Number 3, relying on caffeinated drinks like coffee or tea. For many women, that morning cup of coffee or afternoon tea is more than a drink. It's a comforting ritual, a moment of peace, or a social habit shared with a friend. But what you may not realize is that caffeine, while familiar and soothing, could be quietly making your bladder more sensitive, irritated, and difficult to control. Caffeine is a known diuretic, which means it encourages your body to produce more urine. That's part of why you feel the urge to go shortly after your morning brew. But beyond that, caffeine also acts as a bladder stimulant. It increases muscle contractions and can cause your bladder to feel full, even when it isn't. For those already dealing with urgency or incontinence, this double impact, more urine and more stimulation, can lead to more frequent leaks. And it's not just coffee. Many teas, sodas, chocolate drinks, and even certain medications contain caffeine. Even decaf doesn't always mean caffeine-free. For a bladder that's already sensitive or struggling to hold strong, even a small dose can tip things out of balance. You may have noticed this without realizing what caused it. Suddenly needing to run to the bathroom after your usual breakfast or not. Making it through a car ride without stopping. You might have even chalked it up to aging, but often it's caffeine that's whispering to your bladder, not your age. For older women, especially those trying to stay active, social, or well-hydrated, this can be frustrating. Cutting out coffee or tea altogether might feel like too much, but reducing how much you drink, especially in the late morning or afternoon, can make a big difference. Even switching to herbal teas or non-caffeinated alternatives 2 or 3 days a week can ease the burden on your bladder. You might also try observing your response. For some people, 1 cup in the morning is manageable, but a second or third causes issues. Pay attention to what your body's telling you. If leaks tend to happen on days with more caffeine, it might be time to adjust your intake. This isn't about giving up everything you enjoy. It's about being mindful of what makes your body work better and what quietly gets in the way. And sometimes just choosing a caffeine-free drink instead of the usual can lead to a noticeable change in control, comfort, and confidence. Number 4, not doing pelvic floor exercises. One of the most overlooked causes of bladder leaks in older women is something no one sees, but affects everything: your pelvic floor. This group of muscles sits at the base of your pelvis and supports your bladder, uterus, and bowel. And like any other muscle, if you don't use it, you lose it. With age, especially after childbirth, surgery, or hormonal changes during menopause, the pelvic floor can become weaker. That weakness shows up in small but frustrating ways. A laugh turns into a leak. A cough surprises you. A sneeze ends in discomfort. These aren't accidents. They're signals that the muscles meant to hold things in place aren't as strong as they used to be. What's heartbreaking is that many women don't realize they can do something about it. They think this is just what happens after 70 and start relying on pads or avoiding certain activities. But doctors say that strengthening your pelvic floor through targeted exercises, often called Kegels, can dramatically reduce or even stop bladder leaks. The beauty of these exercises is that you can do them anywhere. Sitting in a chair, lying in bed, waiting at a stoplight, no one has to know. It's a simple clench and release motion, like you're trying to stop the flow of urine midstream. Holding for a few seconds, releasing, and repeating throughout the day builds strength where it matters most. But consistency is key. Just like you wouldn't expect your arms to get stronger by lifting weights once a week, your pelvic floor needs regular, focused effort. Start small, 5 or 10 contractions at a time, a few times a day. Over time, as the muscles respond, you may notice fewer leaks, better control, and even improved posture or core stability. It's never too late to start. Some women in their 80s have seen real improvement just by sticking with it for a few months. And if you're not sure you're doing them right, many physical therapists specialize in pelvic health. They can guide you with proper technique and help tailor a plan that fits your needs and lifestyle. What matters most is this: you don't have to accept leakage as your new normal. You have muscles designed to support you, they just need a little attention. And when you give them that, your confidence grows right alongside them. Number 5, skipping bathroom trips during the day. It might seem harmless to wait a little longer between trips to the bathroom, especially if you're out shopping, watching a movie, or simply not wanting to be that person who constantly excuses themselves. But when this becomes a regular habit, it trains your bladder in ways that can backfire. The bladder is a flexible organ. It stretches to hold urine and then contracts when it's time to release. But when you regularly go long hours without urinating, the bladder becomes overstretched. Over time, this can reduce its sensitivity, meaning you don't feel the urge until it's already very full. And that's where the trouble begins, because when the urge finally hits, it often feels urgent and sudden, and leaks become more likely. For women over 70, this is especially risky. Aging muscles don't react as quickly, and a delayed response can mean the difference between making it or not. What used to be a manageable inconvenience turns into a source of embarrassment or worry, all because the bladder has been trained to wait too long, too often. There's also a psychological pattern that develops. When you ignore your body's natural cues repeatedly, you start to trust those cues less. You question whether you really need to go. You tell yourself, I'll wait just a bit longer. And then one day, you don't make it. Not because you didn't care, but because the signal didn't come in time, or your body didn't have enough warning to react. The good news is this habit can be gently reversed. Setting a routine, such as going to the bathroom every 2 to 3 hours, even if you don't feel a strong urge, can help retrain your bladder. It keeps the volume manageable, reduces stretching, and gives you back more control over timing. It also helps prevent the panic that comes from sudden urgency when you're out in public or away from a restroom. Think of it like tuning an instrument. The more consistent the rhythm, the better it performs. Your bladder is no different. Giving it a chance to empty on a regular schedule helps maintain its natural function and lowers the risk of unpredictable accidents. So if you've been pushing through the day without stopping, thinking it's saving you time or hassle, remember those small breaks might actually be saving you more than you realize. They're protecting your comfort, your confidence, and your sense of control, one restroom visit at a time. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 5 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Number 6, being constipated often. It might surprise you to learn that what's happening in your bowels has a direct effect on what's happening in your bladder. For older women, especially those dealing with chronic constipation, the connection is not just physical, it's structural. The rectum and the bladder sit right next to each other in the body, and when the bowels are backed up, they press against the bladder, reducing its space and its function. When your intestines are full, they create pressure that the bladder has to work against. That pressure can increase urgency, limit how much the bladder can comfortably hold, and make the muscles surrounding the area work overtime. It's like trying to inflate a balloon inside a crowded suitcase. There's just no room to expand. The result: sudden urges, accidental leaks, and the frustrating feeling that you just went to the bathroom but already need to go again. Many older adults quietly live with constipation without realizing how much it's affecting their bladder. You might think it's just a part of aging or that you need fewer trips to the bathroom now that your appetite has changed. But slow or irregular bowel movements often come from dehydration, lack of fiber, reduced mobility, or even medications, all common among people over 70. And when left unchecked, this can quietly turn into a daily problem that affects everything from digestion to sleep to bladder control. Some women notice they leak more during a bowel movement or just after. Others feel discomfort in the lower belly, but can't quite tell what's causing it. If any of this sounds familiar, your bladder may be responding to the strain of constipation, even if you haven't pieced it together yet. What can help? Staying hydrated is a start. So is adding more fiber through fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. Gentle movement each day, like walking or stretching, also helps your digestive system stay active. And if you're taking medications that cause constipation as a side effect, Talk to your doctor about alternatives or gentle remedies that can support regularity. When your bowels move comfortably, your bladder has the space and support it needs to do its job properly. You might not notice the change immediately, but over time, you'll likely feel less urgency, more complete emptying, and fewer unwelcome surprises. Number 7, wearing tight clothing around the abdomen. What we wear can have more of an impact on our body than we sometimes realize, especially when it comes to bladder control. Many women over 70 continue to wear snug-fitting pants, compression garments, or tight waistbands either out of habit, for posture, or simply because those clothes feel familiar. But when clothing presses too firmly around the midsection, it can quietly place pressure on the bladder and reduce its ability to expand comfortably. Imagine your bladder like a balloon trying to fill with water. If you wrap that balloon in tight fabric and squeeze, it has less room to stretch. That pressure creates an artificial urgency. You feel like you need to go even when the bladder isn't full. And over time, this external pressure can lead to more frequent urges, more sensitivity, and a greater risk of unexpected leaks. Tight clothing can also interfere with your pelvic floor. These are the muscles that support your bladder, and they rely on flexibility and movement to function properly. When your clothes restrict the area around your hips and belly, those muscles can't engage as freely. That means even if you're doing your pelvic floor exercises, you might be canceling out the benefits by compressing the area all day long. You might not think your clothing is tight, especially if it still fits or you've worn it for years. But as our bodies change, even familiar garments can start to dig, ride up, or hold in ways they didn't before. This is especially true after weight shifts, surgeries, or digestive changes. You might notice red marks on your waist at the end of the day, a feeling of bloating, or even discomfort when sitting down. These are all quiet clues that your outfit might be doing more harm than help. You don't need to sacrifice style for comfort. Look for elastic waistbands that stretch without squeezing, or high-rise pants that distribute pressure more evenly. Flowy fabrics, relaxed cuts, and breathable materials can all help you feel supported without being constricted. And if you wear support garments for posture or back pain, consider reducing the time you wear them or switching to ones that target specific areas without compressing the whole abdomen. It's a small adjustment, but for some women, changing just one pair of pants or skipping the control top layer has reduced their bladder discomfort almost overnight. It's not about giving up what you love. It's about listening to your body and giving it room to breathe, move, and function at its best. Number 8, assuming it's just aging and not seeking help. One of the most damaging habits isn't physical at all, it's what we tell ourselves. Many older women begin to experience bladder leaks, urgency, or nighttime accidents and quietly assume this is just what happens after a certain age. That belief alone keeps countless women from seeking real, effective help. It's easy to fall into that mindset. You see friends dealing with the same thing. You hear it mentioned in passing, sometimes with humor, sometimes with embarrassment. Even doctors may not bring it up unless you do. And because it's common, it starts to feel normal. But here's the truth. Just because something is common doesn't mean it's inevitable, and it certainly doesn't mean you have to suffer through it. There are dozens of treatable causes for bladder leakage, and many of them have nothing to do with how old you are. Weak pelvic floor muscles, medication side effects, diet triggers, hormonal changes, past surgeries. These are all things that can be addressed. But they only get addressed when someone speaks up. Too often, women wait until the issue has affected their sleep, social life, travel plans, or confidence before they say something. By that point, they may have built their entire day around managing leaks, packing pads in their purse, planning routes around restrooms, or staying home altogether. It's not just uncomfortable, it's limiting. Doctors today have more tools than ever before to help. From pelvic floor therapy to medication adjustments to behavioral strategies and even outpatient procedures, there are real respectful ways to reduce or even stop incontinence. But they start with a conversation. And that conversation starts with you deciding your comfort and dignity are worth it. If you've been blaming yourself or feeling like it's too late to make a change, I want to gently remind you your body is still listening. It's still able to heal, strengthen, and adjust, but you have to give it permission. And that often starts with letting go of the belief that this is just aging and replacing it with, this deserves attention. Because it does. You do. And taking that first step, asking your doctor, trying one new habit, even just learning more, is not admitting weakness. It's reclaiming strength, quietly, and entirely on your terms. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 8 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Final thoughts. Now that we've walked through these 8 hidden habits, it's worth asking yourself, how many of them have quietly slipped into your routine? Not out of neglect or carelessness, but out of habit, comfort, or the belief that nothing could really change. The truth is, bladder control after 70 isn't just about aging, it's about awareness. And awareness gives you choices. You now know that holding it in too long trains your bladder the wrong way. That too much fluid at night or a second cup of coffee can tip the balance. That weak pelvic muscles and overlooked constipation are connected in more ways than we're usually told. That even your clothing and your mindset have a role to play in your comfort. You also know you're not alone. Many women in their 70s and 80s are walking through this quietly, managing, adjusting, but also longing for something better. The good news is, better is possible. You don't need to accept leaks, urgency, or nighttime accidents as your new normal. You can take small, consistent steps to regain confidence, comfort, and control. And every change you make, no matter how small, sends a message to your body: I'm still paying attention. I still care. So which habit stood out to you most? Was it something you've always done, never thinking it could affect your bladder? Or maybe something new you're willing to try starting today? This isn't about doing it all at once. It's about starting where you are and giving yourself the grace to grow. Because life after 70 isn't the end of your story, it's still your story. And the more comfort and confidence you have in your body, the more fully you get to live it. Thank you for joining us today. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned today and how you plan to use it in your life. Your thoughts are important to us, so don't hesitate to share them. Reading your comments gives us great motivation and encouragement. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.